This meditation includes a poem by Rumi. Rumi was a 17th century Sufi poet. The poem is The Guest House, and in it, Rumi compares being human to a guest house. This being human is a guest house, every moment a new arrival. And he's just talking about how each moment we have a different sensation or thought or emotional state that comes and goes, these different aspects of our experience showing up like guests. Some are expected, some not, some are wanted, some not. And he just encourages us as best we can to meet and greet the guests with an open heart. So settle in and enjoy the practice. Thank you. All right, so let me just invite us all to settle in right now. Just to find a comfortable posture, just one that feels relaxed, that feels dignified, and allow the body to just settle in, feeling the body held and supported by the chair, by the floor, by the mat, whatever you're sitting on or lying upon. And you may want to mute your phone if you'd like before we settle in. And just feeling your body here, feeling the parts of the body that are bearing weight, noticing the temperature and the space around you, the touch of air on your skin. Noticing the movement of air at the nostrils. And being aware of the conditions in your mind and in your body. Just feeling internally, bringing the attention inwards. And just noticing how the body feels. Seeing if it's possible to let the body relax. Just noticing areas that might sometimes hold on to tension and allowing the hands to relax and the face, the jaw, the belly. Just letting the body be as relaxed as possible. Noticing the conditions in the mind, just allowing the activities of the mind to play out in the background. So we're not trying to stop the mind from being active. We're not trying to make our mind go clear. It may not. Either way, it's fine. And we're simply noticing how this moment is right now. Allowing it just to be the way it is. Not getting too caught up in wanting things to be different than they are. Simply noticing, allowing, accepting that this moment is like this. However it is, it's like this. And it's going to change. It's not going to be like this for long. And just feeling the body at ease, bringing awareness to the breath inside the body. So noticing from the inside what the breath feels like, coming and going. You may notice the movement of the air, or you may notice the movement of the body, the expanding and relaxing of the chest or the belly. And just seeing if you can let your attention rest in the awareness of the breath. And whenever your attention wanders off, just bring it back. Maybe notice where it went, notice what's on your mind, but gently bring the attention back to the breath. Back to feeling the movement of the chest or the movement of the belly, wherever it's easiest for you to feel. We were talking a little before the meditation just about the times that we're going through now during this pandemic, and just the not knowing day to day, or the different emotions that can arise day to day or moment by moment, and how we can bring mindfulness to these emotions. And I want to read a poem that I've read before. It's a poem by Rumi, and it's titled "The Guest House." This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So here Rumi is just pointing to the fact that moment by moment our inner state can change. Moment by moment we have these visitors, these guests of emotional changes, of thoughts, of feelings. Guests that come to the guest house. This being human is a guest house. He's pointing out that things don't stay the same, and we have momentary changes like visitors, and can we welcome them all? That's his suggestion. Even John Kabat-Zinn admits that welcoming them at the door, laughing and inviting them in, is sometimes an advanced practice, depending on the guest. If the guest is fear or anger or just the unknown and all of the distress that can sometimes come with that. If we can't meet them at the door laughing, can we meet them? Can we acknowledge the guest here? This guest is here. Maybe with a little bow. Maybe it wasn't the guest I had hoped for today. Maybe it wasn't the guest that I had invited today, but right here, right now. My guest is fear. Right here, right now, my guest is unknowing. And can I still be here? Can I be with this feeling, with some sort of acceptance? Acknowledging that this is here right now, turning toward the feeling, not saying no, not turning away, not pretending that it's not here. Can I simply be present? Can I be curious? I find that curiosity is an attitude that can help in dealing with the unknown. Can I be curious? What does this feel like? What does this guest feel like? Because our emotions are like guests coming and going in this guest house of our being. And many of them are sent as guides. Our emotions have something to tell us, some message. And can I simply notice the emotion, acknowledge it? Oh, this is the unknown. Oh, this is joy. Oh, this is pleasant. This is unpleasant. Without getting too caught in the interpretation, or without getting too caught in the liking or the not liking, but simply allowing this moment to be as it is. And when we're bringing our awareness into the guest house, into this being human, we might notice physical sensations, we might notice mental activity, we might notice emotions, and some combination. And again, bringing curiosity to that. Well, what does that feel like? Where does that emotion live in my body? If I notice that I'm feeling frightened, can I feel that? Can I acknowledge that without turning away? Can I honor the fact that it's already here? What does it feel like? Maybe my stomach feels a little tight, or maybe there's tension in my throat or my chest. Maybe it's different each time I notice an emotion, sort of depending on what was the spark. But can I be curious about the guests that show up to the guest house? And so as we sit here, as we lie here, letting the attention rest as much as possible on the breath, the movement of the body with the breath. And noticing any emotions that are also present. Or bringing to mind an emotion. Perhaps in this moment you don't feel particularly frightened or angry or anxious, but you might be able to imagine maybe a time in the last few days where you were feeling some distress, some uncomfortable emotion. And sometimes if we remember back to a moment, and it need not be very long ago, just a moment when we were feeling an uncomfortable emotion, sometimes just that simple memory will bring that emotion back a little bit. And we can practice bringing mindfulness to that. So we're not trying to create a feeling of abject terror, but of distress. A little distress. The last time you watched the news or heard news that seemed disturbing, or thought about any part of this experience that we're all going through that left you feeling vulnerable or frightened or, again, in some way distressed, to see if you can allow that feeling to be present, just to be here. We can bring a practice to this. The practice is called RAIN, and it's an acronym. The R stands for recognize, the A is allow, the I is investigate, and the N is nurture. We can bring this practice. It's a way that we can use the skills of mindfulness to work with uncomfortable emotional states. So allow, if you can, if you'd like, allow an uncomfortable emotional state just to be here. Again, not the worst imaginable, but something that's not particularly pleasant. And recognize that. Maybe you recognize the emotion and can name it. It's fear, it's vulnerability, it's anger, it's not knowing, it's whatever it is. Sometimes we can't name them, but we can recognize that it's not particularly pleasant. But just recognizing that there's something going on here that doesn't feel particularly good. And the A is allowing it. Allow it to be here. So often when we notice something that's unpleasant, our first impulse is to make it go away. We want to go numb. We want to turn away. We want to resist it. We want to push it away. I'm meditating and I'm not supposed to feel this way. We may have some judgment about it. But here, we're allowing it to be here. We're welcoming it. We're meeting it at the door. Just allow this uncomfortable emotion to be here. This opening to it, turning your attention toward it, turning to face this discomfort. And the I of this practice is to investigate. And here you'll use these skills that you're cultivating in moving your attention around to different aspects of your present moment experience. So paying attention inside the body to what does this emotion feel like? So where in the body do you feel it? Are there areas in the body that feel like they've become tense, or hot, or cold, or throbbing? Just investigating, what does this emotion feel like? What does fear feel like? So it's not the story behind it. So often we get caught up in the storyline, the words, but here we're just invited to feel it in the body, to investigate the physical sensations. And then to also investigate the story, but we don't start there. We start in the body, which is more neutral. Oftentimes the story just leads to another story and another story, and we get carried away. We get lost in thought. And so here, the invitation is to simply be present in the emotion, to feel it, to then notice what is going on in my mind. Maybe there are pictures, maybe I have words, Maybe I have some ideas. Maybe, again, one thought leads to another. Our minds have this natural tendency when realizing that this moment is uncomfortable, we try to figure out, how did I get here? Whose fault is it? What happened? So we can find sometimes that our thoughts are going in that direction, trying to figure out the history of this or assign blame. And so we might notice that and just let it be happening in the background. Oh, okay, so I have these parts of my body that feel tight, and my thoughts are kind of looping around this one idea. Or my thoughts are all over the place, or I don't have any thoughts that I'm aware of at all. Whatever it is, we're simply exploring, investigating. What does this feel like? How is this particular emotional state constructed? It's going to be made up of thoughts and body sensations combined, and we're going to interpret that as a particular emotion. So we're simply investigating that. So there is an uncomfortable emotion. We recognize that, allowed it to be here, investigated the sensations. And then the N of rain is the nurturing, is bringing nurturing to ourselves, bringing kindness to ourselves as we feel this emotion, tenderness, this compassion, sharing the emotions. And here, in this case, sharing the emotions with ourselves, with compassion. You may want to place your hand over your heart, or place your hand on your cheek. And putting a hand someplace that feels comforting. Because we're herd animals, we respond to touch. Even if it's our own touch. This light touch. Again, our hand on our heart, on our cheek. Oh. So with this sense of comfort, almost as if you would comfort a child or a frightened animal with that same tenderness. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. And allowing the emotion to be here and nurturing ourselves. Just with a touch, with this understanding that it's perfectly normal. It's part of the human condition to have emotions, and we don't have to run away. We can feel them. We can just feel them. And sometimes if an emotion seems overwhelming, then maybe we're only going to touch into it. Maybe we're just going to feel the edges. Maybe we're just going to investigate it for a few seconds. So being kind to ourselves, not going beyond our level of tolerance, but experimenting with feeling some of these uncomfortable emotions for a little while, because we tend to just turn away. We tend to go numb in the face of uncomfortable emotions, or we feel like we should get away from them. Like that's not right. I was having, a great time, and then, I felt angry, and it ruined it all. Well, or the anger just came up, and then that was here. That was the guest. Now in the guest house. What can I do? What can I do to stay present? I may not want to invite the guest to stay for the weekend, but can I offer them tea? Can I acknowledge this is part of my experience right now, and I can feel this, and what what happens when we bring mindful awareness to uncomfortable emotions is that pretty soon they lose some of the hooks. Oftentimes there are some emotions that we might feel, I can't tolerate that. I can't feel that. I'm not able to do that. And what we can find is that I can feel a little bit of that. I can put my hand next to that emotion. I can acknowledge that fear is here, and without feeling like I'm getting swept into a bottomless well of fear, I can feel a little bit. I can feel how my stomach gets tight or how my chest gets tight. I can honor that. I can be appreciative of the fact that this emotion is here. It exists for a reason. These emotions have saved our lives countless times over the course of evolution. And so just finding ways with each moment to be present, to not turn away, to not say no to our lives as they're unfolding, because they're going to change. If this moment is uncomfortable, well, it's going to change. It's not going to last long. If it's really comfortable, it's still going to change and it's not going to last long. So the question is, can I be present? Can I be here? Because if I decide I'm not going to show up for the moments that are uncomfortable, then it also makes me numb to the moments that are wonderful. If I go numb to one end of the scale, then I'm going numb to the other end. So trying as best as we can to simply stay present and to allow emotional states to move and flow through us. Sort of like waves, like an organic pattern, not getting stuck with one, not holding on to one. If it's a pleasant emotion, not holding on too tight, because then when it changes, we're disappointed. If it's an unpleasant one, not pushing away too much, because then if we feel a little bit of it, we're disappointed. Just allowing the guests to come and go as they will. The wonderful guests, the jugglers, and the alligators. They're all part of the deal. The guests that come and go in the guest house. I like to imagine a guest house with doors and windows wide open so that not only are guests invited to come in, but they're invited to keep on going and not just settle in and move in for the rest of their lives. So just bringing this mindful awareness to this moment, to the guest house, feeling the entire body, sitting here or lying here. We have guests. Just being present with whatever is here. Whatever is here is part of the practice. And noticing how it feels in the body. Things change. But what's consistent is awareness. What's consistent is the breath coming in and going out. The depth of the breath may change, the pattern may change, but we're still breathing. We're still sitting here. We're still present. And that's the practice. Staying present, staying here as we observe the changes, the patterns of our lives, of our emotions, of our physical sensations, changing moment by moment. And with an attitude of curiosity, of acceptance, of welcoming, of turning toward our lives moment by moment, no matter what it feels like. Because if I'm not here, if I check out, if I decide, no, I can't tolerate this, and I check out, who's in charge? No, I would just as soon be present. Even if it's a rocky road, I would still like to be the one driving the bus. So as we sit here, just feeling the body, the entire body, being aware of the activities of the mind, the shifting sands of emotions, the breath, moving in and out, and this wide field of awareness, the awareness itself not changed by whatever it is that we're aware of. We may be aware of anger, but our awareness isn't angry. So just resting in awareness of how it is right now inside. And if you'd like, taking a couple of deep breaths, and really feeling the out breath. And then coming back to a more active state, allowing this practice to come to an end. I'm wondering how that practice was, and if that seemed like a way to cultivate the capacity to be present with some of the uncomfortable emotions that we're invited to feel these days.